Happy Monday and welcome back to Business Class. Or maybe it's not Monday if you're listening. Maybe you're listening to this on a Friday, 2 years into the future. I'm not sure. Today I want to do a video all about routines and habits and how important they are as a business owner and as people in general, like how important these are to have to respect yourself and be the best version of yourself. It wouldn't be an intro to my podcast if I didn't stumble up on my words. So I'm going to quickly get into my takeoffs and departures this week. So my takeoff is that I believe when you're listening to this, I will be on holiday. And I go on holiday, well, a couple times a year, but I go on holiday once a year for a switch off holiday. I firmly believe that if you can, everyone should have 1 week a year where you do absolutely nothing and live your best life at an all-inclusive hotel and just absolutely zonk out for a week. So I'm heading off to Turkey, not for the turkey teeth, just for the cultural appreciation and appreciating my all-inclusive hotel. So I'll literally be doing nothing. I'll be on the sunbed. I'll be swimming. I'll be drinking cocktails. I'll be reading my Kindle. And that's just my happy place where I like to be. Some people can't do that. I know that my boyfriend is incapable of sitting still and he likes to be playing mermaids in the pool, doing crosswords. So new ick unlocked there. My departure is, I would say this week, I don't know about anyone else in business, but I feel like some weeks I feel so strong and like a brick wall and like nothing can get to me. And some weeks I feel like the smallest things can set me off. And I feel like I've sort of had that this week, like letting really small things get to me. And I think that I'm just trying to be a bit more gentle with myself at the minute. And when I do find myself getting upset or annoyed, just feeling it and not being like you have to be tough all the time and stern, because there's not many people that do what we do. You know, a lot of people decide to go down the 9 to 5 route and you don't have the stresses that we have, and it's kind of abnormal. So yes, it's actually going to be quite normal that we have these breakdowns, you know, once a day. So I just take it in my stride and I put it as a departure, but I guess it's not really a departure. And that's pretty much me this week, to be honest, guys. So let's jet off into today's episode. Okay, so routines and habits. I am someone that has never, ever, and will never be a morning person. And I feel like as business owners, there's this whole narrative that we need to be up at 5 a.m, going to the gym, green juice, journaling, affirmations. And it's like, it made me feel like because I wasn't doing that I wasn't successful. And there was a few people that I spoke to that were like, you know, Vic, if you want to take your business to the next level, like you need to be getting up at that time because every hour counts. And I was like, oh my God, I need to be. I read I think it was called like the 5 a.m. Club or something like that. I don't think I even got to the point of trying it. And I think I just realized that everyone works differently. I'm a night person. I always have been, I always will be. Can't do mornings. I feel actually sick in the mornings. And I don't know if anyone else has this, because I feel like whenever I've spoken about it to people, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And they just give me that polite nod and smile like, yeah. But they actually don't feel what I'm talking about. When I wake up too early, like before my usual awaken time, I actually feel sick. Like if I have to get up for a flight at like 4 a.m, or if I have to be up at maybe 5 or 6 a.m. for maybe a client shoot, I feel sick the rest of the day. Like I feel actually sick. So I've had to find my own routines that weren't normal and find what's worked for me. And I think it is important to have routines as a business owner because it's like a little bit of normality, and it's just thinking about looking after yourself and how important that is. I always speak about that. So now I've tried being a morning person for so many years, and I've tried everything. I've tried putting my alarm in another room so that I have to get up out of bed, and that worked for a bit, but then I would just forget to do it and then it didn't work. I would say what has worked for me now is, like I always say, changing the environment. So when I wanted to do yoga, I was like, right, I want to do yoga every morning because then it's done in the morning, it keeps me calm. And I do think as business owners, you need something every day that's going to keep you sane, whether that's the gym, yoga, a walk, whatever that may be. So the only thing that worked for me was to actually book a class and go, because if I was doing yoga at home, I'm not going to do it because realistically, I'd rather have an hour in bed. But if I've booked and paid for a class, then I'll be there because I'm not wasting that money. So my morning routine now is I have an alarm that goes off at 8, and I like to snooze it and continue sleeping till 8:30. A lot of people say you shouldn't do that because apparently it ruins your brain and your deep sleep. But for me, that's probably the most joyous time of my day is when my alarm goes off and I go, "Oh, I still got half an hour in bed." It makes me so happy every morning. So I get up at 8:30. I have my yoga class that I go to at 9:15 for an hour. And then I go straight to the office from there. So I get into the office usually just before 11. And I know what you're thinking. That is giving like afternoon CEO, and it's giving, why aren't you at the office earlier? And do you know why? Because it's my business. And if I want to do that, I am allowed to do that. And it's taken me a really long time to accept that and to say it, because I was like, oh my God, my team's going to think I'm such a slacker and that I'm just like lounging about in the morning. And that just isn't the case, because realistically, yes, I get into the office at like 11, but I am working all evening, every evening. So if I want to get in at 11, I'll get in at 11. It doesn't mean that I am clocking out at 5 and then not doing any more work. And also, that's what works for me. So it's finding what works for you and not just doing something because everyone else says to do it. And then when it comes to the evening, a lot of people then will be like, in the evening, I like to go on a walk or keep the house tidy. And for me, as like an adult, that's been the hardest thing, is finding time to do everything, like keeping the house clean and seeing people, being sociable. So what I do in the evenings is we leave the office at 5. I will drive home with Toby, my little pup, and I'll try and find a bit of time to do a bit of cleaning around my house and just be active. And then my favorite thing to do in the evenings is actually cooking. I really enjoy cooking. And you can use like HelloFresh, you can use Gusto, however you may say it. There's loads of different brands that do, they like basically send you the ingredients. And for me, it's just been a game changer because I get sent the ingredients. I don't have to food shop. So I never do a food shop. I don't have to think what I'm cooking. It's just there and I make it. And yes, it's a bit of hassle because you've actually got to make it and chop things up, but it's my most peaceful time of the day. I'll put on a podcast. I'll put on a bit of YouTube, Netflix, whatever, and I'll just cook. And that is my favorite time of the day, where I'm like so at peace. And then the meal just tastes even better because it's my meal and it's 10 out of 10. So when I've done that, I'll usually realistically do a bit of work. So I'll be like editing stuff or strategizing something. And then I have been trying to read more. I love reading because I've been trying to find something that really shuts my brain off. For you, that might be watching a film. It might be going on a walk. For me, reading shuts my brain off because I physically can't think if I'm reading. So I'll try and have a little read. I'll like have my shower and then I'll try and go to sleep earlier. Kind of depends. I'd say I go to bed at go to sleep at like between 11 and half 11, which is a lot better than it used to be. So that's what works for me right now. I don't see it changing. I've tried, and when I say tried, I have tried everything to become a morning person, and that is now just what works for me. I can't really fit anything else in. And then I've done a lot of research recently about what I'm actually putting into my body and like vitamins and supplements and stuff. And I've heard so many different things. And it's like, as business owners, we're very sporadic and we need to take this and we need to take that. And everyone's body is totally, totally different. But I do think that we almost should be treating ourselves like athletes and like really respecting our health and researching like what we're eating and digesting. So I would say that I am not the healthiest eater by any means. And I'm also a very fussy beige eater. But when I cook my meals, all the ingredients from that are very like not processed foods. So they're very just like one ingredient foods and they're organic and things like that, which is great. Makes you feel kind of good with the planet. And then in terms of like things that I take, I am still on my sertraline, which is like a anxiety, like antidepressant medication. So I'm trying to slowly wean myself off of that. I've seen a lot of business owners take ashwagandha, which is a type of mushroom. So I take ashwagandha, I take magnesium, and then I take two things at the minute for my gut. This is a bit TMI, but I take this gut pill. I don't really know what's in it. And then I also take fish oil. And I know all this sounds gross. And if I would have been hearing myself speak about this even 6 months ago, I'd be like, what the hell is this girl speaking about? But honest to God, as a business owner, we hold all our stress in our stomach and our gut. So when we're stressed, which we are 90% of the time, let's be honest, it is so bad long term. And I know someone who literally wrecked their life through stress because their cortisol levels were so high. And it's just trying to keep your gut and your sort of hormone balance regulated while owning a business, which is so hard to do. So those help me out a little bit. And then I've also I've tried everything, like habit stacking people speak about. So habit stacking is where if you want to read more, but you don't have time to read, you can try listening to an audiobook while you're washing up. So I've just been trying to think about like, how can I get habits done that are actually going to get done and won't be prolonged. So like, I think finding your thing that brings you true zen is really important, and not just doing what everyone else is doing. Like a lot of people said I should do Pilates because that would be good for me. But I've always been a yoga girl. I've always been someone that enjoys yoga, and that to me brings me true peace, joy, and happiness. So just thinking about what is it for you? Is it like walking, running, swimming? I love to swim. I think swimming for me is really nostalgic because it's like what you do when you're younger or when you go on holiday. And then just researching a bit on supplements. And I am not a doctor or a GP. I don't want to give you the wrong recommendations, but I think I know that for women, magnesium is really good anyway, no matter what you have right or wrong in your body. And ashwagandha is basically just a bit of a calming thing. So even if you want to start on those two, that's great. Again, I'm not a doctor or GP, so I can't recommend. But for business owners, we do need to really think about treating ourselves with some love, care, and respect. I've tried to do little things in our office to better this. So like, we go on little lunchtime walks as a team. We don't always get to do that because we're busy, but I really want to prioritize doing that every day. So for my office, I literally bought it a year ago and only started using it maybe 3 times. I bought a pink treadmill because I was like, how can I habit stack at work and make sure that I'm looking after myself at work? And I was like, walking is great. It reduces my stress. It gets my body moving. And stress is the biggest killer. Like it can literally kill people's stress. So I was like, I need to take this seriously. So I bought this pink treadmill. I think it was around 100 and something pounds, which isn't too bad for how much I planned to use it. I went through a phase of using it all the time and then didn't use it for a bit, but that is a good option if you're really strapped for time as a business owner. But when it comes to things like habits and routines, what I've learned is I'm someone that is very easily influenced. So if someone was like, I hula hoop every day, I'd be like, I'll try it. Like I love to try things, but I don't often stick to a lot of habits and routines. And I spoke a little bit on this a couple episodes back. I can't remember what I was speaking about, but it's because basically we don't get an instant reward from that habit or routine. So I love to do yoga and make time for doing it because when I do it, I feel so chilled out and so zen that I get like an instant reward from it. But maybe like walking on my treadmill while I work, I don't really see an instant reward from. I just know that over time it's going to reduce my stress rates and things like that. So I think everyone's different, and there is going to be some things that you're like, I have to run every night. Like I could personally never run. And I've thought about doing like couch to 5K, but the idea of running makes me feel a bit sick. And I do think with all the influence of the London marathons and stuff like that, it's maybe even further not want to get into running. But for you, that could be your sanctuary, is to run. So everyone's different. There's not one thing that I can recommend that will work, but just think about how you can keep it consistent, because I think as business owners, we are quite sporadic people and we are all a bit bonkers at times. And there'll be times and peaks and flows where you're like, I'm going to go to the gym every day this week, or I'm going to do 75 hard. And it's just like not setting yourself up for failure and trying as much as you can to set up for success. So if you want to do 75 hard and you want to read every day, are you setting up your environment so that it makes it easy to read every day? Like I literally just bought one of those Kindle holders. It's like a big arm that you attach to your bed with a remote. I feel quite sorry for my boyfriend that he has to sleep next to that and next to me. But that's just made it more accessible for me because I'm like, my Kindle's right there and I can just read. And it's even things like having an accountability buddy. Like a lot of people have, I feel like it's called body doubling or something like that. And it's where you're more likely to do something when there's another person there. Whereas if you need to tidy up and it's only you and yourself, then you're probably not going to do it. So I think like main takeaways that I wish that I had took away and understood when I was starting up my business is, what is your thing that you can actually commit to doing every day, or at least a couple of times a week, that's going to make your cortisol levels go down? Because it's serious. It is serious shit. And I'm always going to preach and shout about how important you are to your business, and we should be treating ourselves like athletes. I know that sounds quite extreme, but we should be eating well. We should be going to therapy. We should be going to the gym, moving our bodies about, because it's a lot that we have to deal with. And if we are just slobbing about and not respecting ourselves and looking after our bodies, then it's all going to crash and burn. And that's not what we want. And I have actually found that the people I know that are the most successful have really strict routines. And it's also like, it's a sign of self-respect when you have a routine, I think, because you're showing up for yourself every day, even when it's difficult, even when you really can't be asked, and you're putting the work in. And they're people where they wake up at the same time every day. They make sure they're at that gym class every single day. And they're the people that go the furthest because they're structured. But as someone that really struggles to keep up with habits because I don't get that instant gratification, I just make sure that whatever I'm doing, I believe has got the best long-term effects for me, and that I'm going to want to care about. Because if you're not going to, like me, I'm like, I'm going to try something crazy like trampolining, and I'll do it for a week and lose interest. So it's like trying to be somewhat realistic with yourself. And a lot of people say that the habits you have as a person are a look into like what your future is going to look like and how successful you're going to be as a person. Because if you're someone that doesn't move their body about, if you're someone that doesn't really eat well, then it's not going to be a bright future, you know? Like you've really got to water your seeds as you grow. So even if I go online and type in like habits as a business owner, routines as a business owner, so much stuff comes up about mornings. So it's like your best life begins each morning. And, your day should start with intention and blah, blah, blah. But not everyone's made to be a morning person. I actually swear I read something where when you are born, it's like in your DNA whether you're a morning person or not. Like you're either someone that always naturally wakes up early or you just never will be able to. And I've spent so long trying to fit myself into this mold of like, yeah, I get up at 6 a.m. Like, no, if I have to get up anytime, I'm going to be honest, before 8:30, I won't be able to function the rest of the day. And I tried to go through a phase where I was getting up really early and I just felt gross the whole entire day. But when you look at all this stuff online, it's all about morning routines and like morning routines of successful business owners. And I just think things are shifting a lot. Like, this is crazy. It's like 8 morning routine ideas, connect with friends and family, say hello to your animals and plants and make your bed, read something, a Bible, novel, poetry, clean your face, brush your teeth, go outside for a few minutes and breathe, drink a glass of water, carefully choose your outfit, put on your favorite perfume. Who has time for that? Who actually has time for that? A lot of the things I do are often just really simple. And if you can do one thing every day to just start you off with, that is going to be more effective than doing a million. Because if you're like me and you're quite like a all or nothing person, it does set you up for failure. Like, I don't know how many times I have said to people, like, I want to do yoga every morning and I also want to read and I also want to allocate an hour every day where I clean my house. And because I've decided that I want to do so many new things, I'll do them for a week and then it just won't happen again. Or I'll do one of them and then it won't happen again. So if you can just do one thing from listening to this podcast and just book something in, it will massively change how you go about things. And even with the pressure to do something every day, even if you can book something in once a week, that is going to be more effective than not doing it at all. So if we have a little look while we're on the web at, business owners that don't live by the norms and get up super early, just for reference, Stephen Bartlett is one of those people. I remember seeing that he doesn't take any meetings before like 11 o'clock in the morning because he needs his sleep. And there's other people that are very well known that conform to their own routines. Yeah, this guy here, he likes to smother in his own thoughts until 11 a.m. So Pharrell Williams rolls out of bed at 9 a.m. without an alarm clock. That's actually a skill. I couldn't do that. If I didn't have an alarm clock, I don't think I'd ever wake up. I love to sleep. I always get my 8 hours of sleep. That's one thing about me. I always do. And I can't even drink coffee. So I never have got to experience that caffeine buzz. So just to wrap up a little bit before I go too off on tangents, the way you treat yourself and structure your day, it does reflect how much you respect yourself. And that is a deep quote that's just come out of me, really. Because there's weeks where I have no energy to go to yoga. My house is a tip. I can't be bothered to cook. And that is a reflection of my week. And a true skill that I'm trying to maintain is even when I am having difficult weeks, I'm still going to yoga. I'm still cleaning my house. I'm still cooking. And that's so much harder to do than doing it all when everything's going well. So please, from this episode, take it that you need to seriously consider booking in something, whether that's daily or once a week, for you and to look after yourself and to prioritize yourself. Because if your business isn't, no, I've said this quote so many times that I butcher every time. If you are not your best, your business can't be at its best either. And you need to function as someone who you want to be. So if you want to be a really high level CEO or CEO, if you want to be a female boss, then you have got to start acting like it. And like I always say, I've got my alarms on my phone that say, would higher Vicky be doing this? That pings at me every hour of the day. If it's not something that the highest version of you will be doing, then don't do it. And that is what your routine should reflect. And it is honestly so hard to keep doing it when you're having one of those weeks where you're like, I'm exhausted and I have no energy. But making sure your environment is prepped for those times so that when you feel like giving up, you're like, oh, I can't give up because I've booked the yoga class in. Or for me, I don't have any other choice but to cook because the only thing in my house is my meals and ingredients. So I can't just stick a pizza in the oven because it doesn't exist. It's not there. So if I really don't want to do it, I can just order a cheeky McDonald's, but I try to avoid doing that. So I hope that helped, and get on the ashwagandha, chill yourself out, find something that works for you, and stop comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing. Just because you look up to someone else and they get up and they do 5 a.m. morning routine doesn't mean it's got to work for you. The most successful people find their own path and make it work for them. That's all from me on this Wise Monday. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Be kind to yourself, and I will see you aboard next time on Business Club.